What is up, NFL fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Pro Football Insiders Football Buffet. I'm Jeff Hartman, one of the three hosts here on this weekly podcast. Joining me on the crew is Rob Guerrera. What's up, Stats?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. You're 2-0 49ers. You got to be feeling pretty good.
That's right.
Mac Jones, baby. Mac Jones.
We'll take
Kevin Smith. What's up, Coach?
What's up, guys? I just want all the listeners to know Rob was just telling me before the show how much he enjoyed my chickpea hummus recommendation. He's thinking about replacing his Triple H routine with mine.
Lies, damn lies.
I love it. All right, let's do our stories of the week. Everyone goes in a different direction after week 2 is officially in the books. Rob, I'll let you go first.
I got to give it to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. This team is gritty and gutsy, and Baker Mayfield is playing out of his mind last night, and I absolutely loved Baker scrambling, getting tackled. He's on the ground, like clutching his sides in pain, and then somebody comes over and starts talking trash, and he just gets up, forgets about the injury, and starts giving it right back to him. Like, I don't know how you can't root for him right now. Their roster is loaded with talent. I think Tampa Bay is a major threat in the NFC.
I love that people call Baker Mayfield like a comeback player of nominee, but it's just because he played for the Browns. It's not because he was hurt or something like that. He was just a former Brown quarterback who seemed to resurrect his career, but that's a good one. I like that. Coach, anything to add to that?
I loved that he converted that 4th and 10 they blitzed him with 6, scrambles out for 15 yards, gets hit, literally does a flip, lands on the turf, no celebration, right? The old Baker Mayfield would have talked some trash, first down point, whatever. He flipped the ball to the ref and he ran right back to the line. This guy's grown up.
Yeah. All right, Coach, what's your story of the week?
Well, my story of the week is, Rob's is kind of a feel-good story. Mine is the opposite. The Cincinnati Bengals have once again find themselves without the services of their franchise quarterback, to whom they're paying approximately $4 billion over the next couple of years. I mean, this is a team that has decided that they've pushed all their chips onto the offensive side of the ball. 46% of their salary cap is devoted to 3 players, right? Chase, Higgins, and Joe Burrow. And now they're going to be without Joe Burrow for the next 3 months. I mean, injuries are unfortunate, and you hate to see those types of things happen and a marquee player being taken off the field. But when you go all in like that, you're one injury away from seeing your season completely derailed. And this is once again the position the Bengals find themselves in.
Rob, you spoke about this on the Pro Football Insiders, your Stats on Fire segment for us. What are your thoughts on the Joe Burrow toe injury?
I mean, it's devastating for them. Like, they did push their chips in. They brought back Trey Hendrickson, right, on a 1-year contract. Like, they really thought they were going to make a run at this thing. And now Joe Burrow, I mean, if he gets back at all, it's going to be the middle of December. It could even, cost him his entire season. And look, where are you if you're Cincinnati? Coach just laid it out. Like, you've got a lot of money tied up. Your defense is in shambles, and you can't depend on your quarterback anymore.
What are the odds that they go searching for an answer at quarterback and not just say, we're going with Browning? I don't know if it's a Kirk Cousins, if it's a Jameis Winston, or maybe even a Russell Wilson for a New York Giants team that Russell Wilson's not the answer. Coach, if they were to go in a different direction, where do you think the Bengals would or should go?
Given the available options, you're putting Band-Aids on bullet holes. I mean, it just doesn't feel. And if you trade for Kirk Cousins, you got to bring on that contract as well. And how much more money can you possibly commit to the offensive side of the ball?
Rob, you agree or disagree?
I agree. I mean, I think they're going with Browning. He has, kind of played pretty well in relief of Joe Burrow in the past. Their quarterbacks right now are Jake Browning, Brett Rippon, Sean Clifford, and Mike White, who they just added also. I think they're just going to go for it and see where the chips fall, and it's probably going to be at the top of the draft again.
There you go. All right, my story of the week this is going back to week 1 where Rob talked about week 1 is an illusion. Sometimes it's a bold-faced lie. And week 2 could maybe be the beginning of trends. You see which way teams are trending. I want to ask you guys, what 2-0 teams are frauds? We know the guys that are legit. You talk about the Philadelphia. Let's start in the AFC. Believe it or not, there's not as many 2-0 teams in the AFC compared to the NFC. We have the Buffalo Bills, the Los Angeles Chargers, who won on Monday night, the Bengals that we just talked about, and the Colts at 2-0. Rob, I'll let you go first. Out of those teams, which ones are frauds in your opinion?
It's got to be the Colts. They haven't punted yet through 2 weeks. I mean, that's insane, but I'm sorry. I don't believe in Daniel Jones. I know he's played well to start the year. You played the Dolphins and the Broncos, and they put up 29 points on Denver, which is a nice game. But I don't believe that Daniel Jones is suddenly a new player and a new quarterback from the guy I saw play with the Giants for all those years. The Colts, I just don't believe in their roster. I don't believe in their coaches. I don't believe in their leadership at all in the front office. 2-0 is a great start, but if I'm picking frauds, I'm going to Indy.
All right, Coach, what about you in the AFC? Any of those frauds for you?
I have a little more faith in Daniel Jones than Rob does, only because he spent a year in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, and we saw the year that Baker Mayfield spent in LA with Sean McVay did wonders for him. Maybe that year in Minnesota has changed Daniel Jones the way it changed Sam Darnold. I don't know. But I mean, we just laid out the fraud team for me, and that's Cincinnati, and not because not because the team itself is a fraud, but because they don't have their quarterback for 3 months. I can't possibly see them sustaining this success.
I can't disagree with any of the two that you guys brought up. So let's go to the NFC. There's a lot more 2-0 teams there in the National Football Conference. The Eagles are 2-0. The 49ers, Cardinals, and Rams, all in the NFC West, are 2-0. The Packers are 2-0, and the Buccaneers are 2-0. Out of all those teams, Rob, any of those frauds for you?
This one is tougher. If I had to pick one, I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. And maybe this is my, 49ers homerism shining through. I'm willing to admit that. But don't forget, in week 1, the Saints had the game-tying touchdown in their hands in the end zone, and they dropped it. So that arguably could have been a loss for Arizona. I don't believe in Kyler Murray at all. I like the coaching staff in Arizona, unlike Indianapolis. I think the coaches in Arizona are pretty good, but they're just less than the sum of their parts, and they have been for a while. And I don't know if that's a Kyler Murray thing or what the problem is. They should be better, but they're not. They usually start the year hot and then peter out after the second half or once the second half starts. So I'm going to go Arizona frauds in the NFC.
Coach, you agree or disagree?
No, I agree completely. Rob mentioned they scrape by against New Orleans, which is one of the worst teams in the league. Their other win is over Carolina, another bottom feeder, for lack of a better term. And they almost blew it, right? And they don't have a history of sustained success. I mean, we've never seen Arizona, not never, but not in recent years, be able to put together good stretches of football over time. So you just feel like there's going to be a clunker in there, and then maybe they'll regress like they often do.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but I will say that the team that has me kind of like, I don't know if this is sustainable, and it's all because of quarterback health, is the Rams. Matthew Stafford came into this season with that disc injury in his lumbar region of his spine. That's not going to go away, and I wonder if he can stay healthy. And if he's not healthy, that Rams team is totally different. If he is, different story. But because he had all those lingering back issues going into the season, I have my questions about the LA Rams and their sustained success. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, let's get to our matchup segment. Coach, what games are you looking at this week?
Yeah, I'm going to just focus on one game because I'm so excited to watch this just as a football junkie and a coach. The Rams offense against Vic Fangio's defense in Philly. So you got Sean McVay against Vic Fangio, two of the best in the league at what they do. And if we really want to get specific, it's really the Rams' use of 11 personnel against Philly's nickel package. Because one of the things the Rams do so well is they get you into these 11 personnel. They use their 11 personnel offense, which is one running back, one tight end, three wide receivers. They spread the field. They force you to play in a nickel. And then they'll pre-snap shift in motion and condense their formations, and they bring these nickel defenders in the box, and then they run the ball right at them. They really exploit these pass-first nickel defenders. Well, the nickel defender in Philly is Cooper DeJean, who you probably remember game-changing play, pick 6 in the Super Bowl, stud D-back out of Iowa, Swiss Army knife kind of guy Vic Fangio loves to use. So, if Philly gets real aggressive trying to defend LA and their bunch sets and their run game, McVay's brilliant with the play action game. He'll throw over your head. Is Cooper DeJean the X factor? We saw the Rams give the Eagles some problems in the divisional playoffs last year, almost beat them in the snow, that 28-22 divisional playoff game. And Cooper DeJean turned out to be one of the big X factors along with Jalen Carter in that game. So I'm really psyched. That's a great coaching matchup of two of the best in the NFL.
Rob, you're an NFC guy. What's your take on this game?
I mean, this is going to be a fantastic game. I'm fascinated to see the difference in quarterback play. On the one side, you've got Matthew Stafford, who still is making incredible throws, lowering his arm angles, no looks. It's unbelievable, all the different stuff that he does against Jalen Hurts, who, as Chris Jones so eloquently pointed out last week, barely threw for more than 100 yards against the Chiefs, but Philly won the game. So it's like you've got Matt Stafford, who can do all these amazing things, versus Jalen Hurts, who I still think has some serious limitations as a passer, but never seems to lose friggin' games. So I'm fascinated to watch those two. I think we all saw the playoff game last year. LA gave Philly everything they could handle in that game. I can't wait to see this rematch.
And for those that are curious, there's a 1:00 kickoff on Fox this upcoming week. Let's go to stats, your commentary. Where are you going this week?
I mean, the quarterback injuries around the league, it is horrific right now. Literally 15% of the league's starting quarterbacks are hurt. And this is a problem throughout the league. We mentioned Joe Burrow is hurt. J.J. McCarthy is hurt in Minnesota, already ruled out on a Monday, which was crazy that he's already ruled out for this week. Brock Purdy may not go for the 49ers. The injuries around the league, this is going to be who can survive, right? Who can sort of tread water through this time until you get your starting quarterback back? I'm looking at teams like Washington with Jaden Daniels, who may not go, right? You're playing the Raiders. You should beat the Raiders, but at the same time, you got a backup quarterback in there. You play with your food a little bit. Who knows? So with 15% of the league starting quarterbacks injured, I think it's going to come down to the coaching staffs and who can tread water until some of these guys can come back.
Coach, any thoughts on the quarterback injuries around the league? There are a lot of them.
Two quick thoughts. One, the league can't do anything more than it's already done to try to protect these guys. It's the unfortunate nature of professional football that these guys are going to get hurt. My gosh, the strike zone on where you can hit a QB is smaller than a Major League Baseball strike zone these days. So I don't know what else they could do. The other thing is, at what point will we begin to see the backup quarterback market become a big deal? I know there aren't 32 great NFL quarterbacks, much less 64. So it's hard to find a great franchise starter, never mind a backup. But at what point will teams start to try to sink more money into backups? Like a guy like a Russell Wilson, down the road, maybe in the offseason, you throw a lot of money at him to be your backup because you recognize the fact that at some point he's probably going to be your starter. That'll be interesting to watch to see if teams become more serious about their number two guy.
It is crazy, and like you said, they cannot protect these quarterbacks any more than they already do, and so it's going to be an issue moving forward. It's always been an issue if you think about it. It's just right now we're talking about it because, well, as Rob stated, 15% of the league's quarterbacks are banged up in one way or the other. All right, prediction time. Last week, I know that we gave you some upsets, and we cashed in on a couple of those. When you think about this upcoming week of games, we are going to do a game of the week here at the end of the podcast. Rob, is there a specific game or a specific pick that you like this week in the week 3 slate of games?
Just looking at the schedule, not my favorite schedule of games this week. I thought we had some pretty good ones the first 2 weeks. If I had to make one single prediction, I don't know. There's nothing that I like that's jumping out to me. I was going to, I tried to get bold with the Giants in week 1. That flopped on its face. No, I don't have a prediction. This is bad work by me. Maybe come back to me and I'll
Okay, I'll come back to you. Coach, you got one?
Well, we could always go safe and say like so-and-so is going to beat so-and-so. There's a lot of favorites that you could pick, but I think we talked last week about maybe trying to pick an upset. I have zero sound reasoning for this, but I'm going to pick the Carolina Panthers at home to beat the Atlanta Falcons because I think that Atlanta's offense right now is a little bit of a mess. I mean, it's a little bit of a hodgepodge with Michael Penix. They haven't quite found their groove yet. Do they want to be Bijan Robinson centric? Do they want to let Penix spread the ball around a little bit more? What's going on with Kyle Pitts? Where does he fit in that offense? I don't know if they really have an identity. Carolina's 0-2, but they've been competitive. Bryce Young actually played some pretty good football last week. They're at home. It just feels like, hey man, the Panthers will get off the schneid. So if I'm picking one, that's the one.
All right, last week I gave you the upset, which was Sunday Night Football, which did cash, and that was the Falcons over the Vikings in Minnesota. This week, so I'm 2 for 2 in upset picks. I'm going to give you another one. Here we have a 4:25 kickoff. Again, like Coach said, there's not a lot of sound reasoning behind this, but the Chicago Bears are home dogs to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are giving 1.5 points at Soldier Field. I think the Bears are better than an 0-2 start. I don't know if the Cowboys are as good as they've been playing. I feel like they've been playing a little bit above their head. They're going to put up points. I think the Bears are going to kind of figure it out. They have to kind of figure it out with Ben Johnson getting his first go at it as a NFL head coach. I'll take the Bears getting 1.5 at home against the Dallas Cowboys as my upset pick of the week. Rob, you got anything?
Yes, I have been in the lab while you were talking. And I'm going to take the Patriots at home against the Steelers.
Oscar, you.
Boo. Boo this man.
Jeff, what is going on with Mike Tomlin? Your guys don't have their heads in the game. They gave the Seahawks a touchdown last week. Literally just not knowing the rules on the kickoff. They let the ball go in the end zone after it lands in the landing zone, and Seattle just runs down and flops on the ball for a touchdown. I have never seen Mike Tomlin have his team unprepared like that before. I do not like the vibes in Pittsburgh right now. Mike Vrabel in New England, I think I'm going Patriots at home to make the Steelers 1-2.
Got to be honest, Rob, if I wasn't a Steelers fan, that probably would be my upset pick because the Steelers are giving 1.5 on the road. I do like home dogs. And from an outsider's perspective, it's interesting to hear you say, like, I've never seen Mike Tomlin's teams this unprepared. Talk to Steeler fans and they'll say, we've seen it plenty. We've seen it plenty. I mean, Coach, would you not say that?
The Steelers are great at winning games that they're not supposed to and losing games that they're not supposed to. So that's been a big criticism of Mike Tomlin over the years.
Mike Tomlin, from a national perspective, is totally different from the people that follow him every single week, every single year. It's just, I've never seen polar opposite ends of this spectrum. Steeler fans will tell you, like, there's Steeler fans, a lot of Steeler fans that want Tomlin gone because they're just, it's the same old, same old. It just seems like it's the status quo. So, all right, we're going to forego a tailgating tip of the week, and we are going to talk about a feature game of the week. And the three of us, before we hit record, decided that the game of the week that we want to discuss before we call it a show is the Monday Nighter. It's a good one. Lions at Ravens. This is going to be two 1-1 teams. Detroit seemed to maybe figure it out last week. Baltimore just completely annihilated the Browns in the second half. It was close in the first, but they kind of turned away with it. Coach, I'm going to go to you with, from an X's and O's standpoint, what intrigues you about this Lions-Ravens Monday Nighter?
Real quick, before I answer that question, was Detroit stomping on Ben Johnson and the Bears not like the most Dan Campbell thing ever? You know, like did Dan Campbell taking Ben Johnson, leaving to go coach Chicago personally, and having his team so freaking angry when they came back into the building and then rolling up 52 points and maybe rubbing it in a little bit at the end there. That felt like a very Dan Campbell Detroit Lions thing. But now they go to Baltimore. From a matchup perspective, you got to figure out how to contain Lamar Jackson in that Baltimore offense. And I think the challenge for Detroit will be, are they physical enough up front on defense? You can run the ball a little bit on the Lions, and that makes this a bad matchup. Now, the last time they played, Detroit upset Baltimore. So there's a history there that says that they can beat the Ravens. I just think the Ravens are a little too physical. I think it's going to be a really entertaining game, but I think they're a little too physical on offense for the Detroit defense.
Do you have a pick in this game, Coach?
Yeah, I would pick Baltimore. I mean, I think it's going to be a really entertaining, competitive game, probably fairly high scoring. I don't know what the over-under is, but it feels like an over game.
51.5.
Yeah, to me, that's an over game, right? I actually thought it would be higher than that. I mean, I could see this being like a 31-24 game, something along those lines.
All right, do the Ravens cover the 4.5?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Rob, what's your take on this Monday Nighter?
Well, first, I got to give credit to the Lions. Like, that is exactly the type of game last week they had that I didn't think they were going to do anymore without Ben Johnson. I mean, Jared Goff had as many touchdown passes as incompletions in the game. That's ridiculous. And I love that Dan Campbell, like, makes that a thing. Like you said, like, he talked to the team about Ben Johnson not being there. Like, they didn't ignore it or run from it. If you heard his post-game speech in the locker room, he talked about, like, hey, we can still do this, right? Like, we showed everybody. I like that he embraced that type of thing. I think that even though Detroit is, I have to say, better than I thought they were going to be, I still think Baltimore is just unbelievable right now. The fact that Baltimore even has a loss, like, stuns me with how well they have played. I just think Lamar Jackson is the best running quarterback we have ever seen in the NFL, like running and passing, like the combination of those two. I think he's the best. I think he's playing his best right now. So until I see Lamar's play dip, I got to go with the Ravens.
All right, so I live in the state of Maryland, and I have to deal with these purple and black fans all the time. And I'll tell you this, that the Ravens are due for, they have stinkers. They have games where they absolutely should win, and they don't. I'll tell you this, if I'm betting this game, I'm taking the Lions getting 4.5. Not that I think they're going to win outright, but I think it's going to be close. And I think the Ravens are due to choke like they have so many times in recent memory, most recently week 1 in Buffalo. This game's at home. It's in prime time. That's a tough place to play. But at the same time, we've seen Lamar Jackson with the turnovers. We've seen now Derrick Henry with the turnovers. We've seen John Harbaugh teams collapse when it matters the most. Does this game matter the most? No, it's an NFC opponent. AFC, NFC, those are the games, if you're going to lose, you pick those and say that's fine. It doesn't have as much to do in terms of tiebreakers. But I think this is going to be a very compelling game for all the reasons that you all stated. But I'll take the Lions minus 4.5, and I'll also take the under. I think this game's going to be lower scoring than you think. I think both of these defenses, it's going to be a slow going, and then maybe in the second half things open up. So there you go. We'll see that game of the week. We'll be talking about that for sure next week. But I want to give everyone a chance to plug what they're doing. Rob, go ahead and talk about your 49ers coverage.
So where you can check us out at the 49ers Gold Standard Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts are on YouTube. We do live shows every single weekday. We do daily news updates that come out. Just give us a chance. I always like to say, I promise you will come back.
All right, Coach, your Call Sheet Daily?
Yeah, our Call Sheet Daily podcast runs on similar platforms. Whiteboard Wednesday, we're breaking down the McVay-Shanahan offense, what makes it so difficult to defend. How do you defend it? Frank Lasasso, longtime defensive coordinator here in the state of New Jersey, is my guest. Thursday shows The Portal, college football show. And the question we're going to ask is the 2026 class of quarterbacks, which is supposed to be so phenomenal, is it overrated? Because they have looked pretty sad so far.
All right. If you want to check out our Steelers coverage, go to Steel Curtain Network, wherever you get your podcasts, or steelcurtainnetwork.com. We do appreciate everyone for checking out the Football Buffet. We'll be back next week to recap week 3 and talk week 4. Take it easy, everyone.